Eat human.
Hey everyone, this is the bonus episode with Dr. Mindy. I thought she had some great stuff to say, so I wanted to make it available for everyone. If you want to get these in the future, you can join the Sapien tribe. We have a limited number of lifetime memberships available at a deep discount. You get a bunch of great perks. You get the Zoom calls with Dr. Gary and I where we answer your questions personally. Get access to our special area with all the show notes, private videos, all kinds of great stuff. So join at sapien.org and you can get these each week. Here's Dr. Mindy. All right, we're back for the Sapien tribe. I got a few more questions for Dr. Mindy. You mentioned heavy metals and kind of toxicity, and there's all this glyphosate and gluten. And what about those three things? I guess you could talk about, I think you removed gluten from your diet a long time ago.
Yeah.
Then there's glyphosate, and then there's heavy metals.
Yeah, here's the easiest way to understand those three things. And let's start with heavy metals. If we just take a heavy metal like lead is actually stored in the bones. And at times of big hormonal swings, lead will come out. And the biggest hormonal swing for a woman is pregnancy. So a lot of the lead comes out of bones in pregnancy and goes into the baby. You know, babies don't have a blood-brain barrier that doesn't get formed until you're 7. So a lot of kids are coming into the world. I mean, even us, when we were younger, came into the world with our mother's toxic load. And then now we're growing up in the most toxic time in human history. So lead, mercury, aluminum, thallium, these are all in our environment and they're getting stored in our tissues. And once they're there in our tissues, they're depleting glutathione, they're making us insulin resistant, and they're degenerating neurons. So getting this stuff out is really massively important. But here's the thing, the clincher that just messed it all up, and that's glyphosate. So what glyphosate does when it kicked in and started getting sprayed on everything and in our environment is it drives the metals deeper into nervous tissue. And this is actually Stephanie Seneff's work. Have you talked?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I've not talked to her, but I've listened to some interviews with her and she's on my list.
Yeah. So this is her work that glyphosate, the biggest problem, she believes it's a real contributor to autism and learning disabilities because it's driving these metals into nervous tissue, making them more, damaging them more. You know, when you look at the trends, I don't know if you've ever looked at the graphs showing all the thyroid conditions, all the depression and anxiety, all of the autism, everything accelerated when glyphosate got introduced into our food system. And a lot of that is because mixed with the high heavy metal load, we're now creating neurological damage like we've never seen before.
And also, doesn't it disrupt the gut microbiome? So it maybe doesn't necessarily directly disrupt human tissue, but it disrupts the microbiome through the, what is it? The
shikimate pathway. I know.
Shikimate, that's it. Shikimate pathway. So it messes with our gut biome, and then that messes up everything else.
Exactly. So then if you look at it from the microbiome standpoint, it does that. So it's so fascinating to me to think about this. It's like the immune conversation we were having. Okay, so glyphosate messes up the shikimate pathway, which is the pathway that they are using to kill the insects on the food that they're spraying. But what they didn't, it's part of the death of that insect and why farmers use it, because what it's doing is allowing them to not have to lose so much of their crops, which makes for more profits. Okay, well, we have this bugs in our gut. So you're destroying that same shikimate pathway. You're killing the microbiome in the gut by eating this stuff. And then if you even go like one step further, it's our bacterial world that keeps our viral world in balance. So we now have a food industry that has packed food with spraying it with glyphosate. We're putting antibiotics in our meats, and we're giving people antibiotics. We're putting it on our hands. And we have destroyed our microbiome so bad that the viral world is rearing its ugly head. And here we are.
It makes so much sense. So yes, I can see how all these companies, Monsanto, they're trying to hide it from us. And it's like, oh, it's not damaging to humans. No, maybe not, but it's damaging to what you talked about in the beginning.
Yep.
Something that has way more cells in our body than human cells is the bacteria.
Yep. You know who's a good person to follow? And actually, you should bring him on your podcast is Zach Bush. If you need an introduction, let us know. He's an endocrinologist who really got into understanding how the microbiome plays a part in hormones, and what he came to the conclusion, and he'd be speaking your language, is that we've been spraying so much, our soils are just completely deficient, and we're not even growing food in soils with good bacteria or nutrients anymore. And so the foods we're eating are so deficient of the positive stuff
Mhm.
we need for our microbiome to thrive.
Absolutely. I've seen some of his videos. Amazing, amazing guy. I tried to contact him, his PR people. I couldn't get through. So intro would be awesome.
Great, we'll do it.
And he's a Hawaii guy too. I think he's in Hawaii now. I grew up in Hawaii.
Yeah, he kind of travels all over the place.
He's great.
Yeah.
Love him. Love him. So just real quick on gluten, because some people still don't think gluten is a problem.
Yeah, okay,
I
so
heard someone.
let's talk about gluten, but let's talk about food allergies in the topic of food allergies. The initial problem with gluten is that the strain of gluten you're eating today is not the strain you ate 20, 30 years ago. It's a hybrid, and in it has something called a Bt toxin. So what they did is they created a gluten that if an insect got on the gluten, that the wheat as it was growing, that the insect, if it munched on the wheat, it would die. Well, that same thing, that Bt toxin gets into your gut and it kills your good bacteria. So if you're eating it over and over again, you are killing your microbiome over and over again. Now, there's a few caveats to that. Ancient grains are interesting. If you can find like a local farmer that grows ancient grains that isn't this hybrid version, that's awesome. We do that here in my town. We found a really cool baker that has a different version, and my gut can definitely take it better. If you ever go to Europe, or if we're ever allowed back in Europe at this
Mhm.
point, I can go to Italy and eat gluten and be okay, because it's a different grain that they're growing compared to what you're getting for the most part in your supermarket. But the second part of that equation is, why do we have so many food allergies? And so much of that comes back to the microbiome. We have destroyed our microbiome, and so we are becoming more reactive and more vulnerable to all the different foods. So does that mean you just give up all these foods forever? In my book, the answer is no. The answer is you start repairing your microbiome.
Wow. I love that. And it kind of echoes what Dr. Bill Schindler says. It's not the food, it's how you produce it. Yes, it's a type of grain, and he slow ferments sourdough. And then
Yeah.
it's a way different
Yep.
product than a piece of bread that you get in a store.
Yep.
Love that. Fix the microbiome, fix your gut. And yeah, a lot of these problems go
Yeah.
away.
Yeah. It's really cool. And we've tested it over and over again with our resetters. And usually we'll do a lot of fasting. You got to stay off the food for a while. Zach Bush has a great product called Ion Biome that helps to repair the gut. So we make some simple changes, and then over enough time, you can slowly start to add that stuff back in.
Cool.
Yeah.
I love it. Thanks so
Oh,
much
my pleasure.
and take care.
Awesome. Thank you.